So first of all, let's take a look at this, and I hope you see it's 1/2 x. So b is a half. So the period is 2 pi over a half, and division becomes multiplying by the reciprocal. Oops, reciprocal of a half is 2. I get a new period of 4 pi. So I start at 0, I end at 4 pi, halfway is 2 pi, halfway between 0 and 2 pi is 1 pi, 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi. So 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and 4 pi, those are where our 5 key points are going to go. Please also note something that you've learned before. Our cosine graph is going to flip. So this y value of 1 is now going to become -1. 0 stays 0. This y value of -1 for cosine is now going to become 1, and 0, and back to -1. And I hope you see a cosine graph that's upside down. And once you see one period, you've seen them all. I know it's getting kind of old, but watch this. So here's our graph. Now, don't do this. Put the arrow this way. You'll lose a point for that. You understand that the graph is going to start coming back up at the end. So when you get to here, don't go down to draw the arrow, come back up and draw the arrow. Inside the function, next to the x, is our horizontal shift, like we've done in the past. And so, if you look at the blue x's, that's our original cosine graph. And we're going to shift this graph to the right pi, So then, since our normal period is 2 pi, we have pi for the middle and pi over 2 for the first quarter point, 1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2. So this is pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 4 pi over 2, which is 2 pi. So I take each point and move it to the right pi, and pi is 2 boxes. So this point goes here, this point goes here, this point goes here, this point goes here, and this point goes here, and here's our new cosine graph. Do you see the shape? It's a cosine graph, but it's been shifted to the right pi, And then if I draw that again, and draw that again, if I come down with my arrow, because that's where it's going, I have my cosine graph shifted to the right. So here's 1, here's -1. Again, I use 2 boxes for 1 because it looked better. So there's a certain order that I'm hoping will make sense to you. Step 1, we're going to gather the data. So the number in front, that's the A value in our pattern. That's going to be the absolute value of A is the amplitude, and that's 1. B is the number in front of the X, that's 1. So the period is 2 pi over B, or 2 pi over 1, or just 2 pi. The horizontal shift, that's going to go to the left, pi over 3. And because there's nothing added at the end, we can pretend it's +0, and the vertical shift is 0. So again, step 1 is to gather the data. Step 2, let's do the easy part first. let's do the vertical shift, which there isn't one. So the middle of our graph stays at 0. And then the third thing I would do is the amplitude. It goes up 1 and down 1, up 1, and down 1. Now the fourth thing I would do is the horizontal shift. That's going to be pi over 3. And so pi over 3 to the left, that's going to be here. And so I'm going to call one box pi over 3, which means now every box has to be pi over 3. And once I do the horizontal shift, I can now find the period. Now, here's the problem. The period is 2 pi. Each box is pi over 3. So if I go 1 pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 3 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3, 5 pi over 3, 6 pi over 3, I end up here. That's 2 pi. If I count the boxes, this box is over 5 pi over 3 to the right, 1 pi over 3 to the left. Do you see that 6 pi over 3 total, which is 2 pi? So you have to be able to count and fractions. And then the same thing occurs. My sine graph starts at the x-axis, ends at the x-axis, the middle is at the x-axis, the middle is at the top, and the last quarter is at the bottom. This one's at half a box. Half of pi over 3 is pi over 6. So I can count again. 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 6 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6. I need to label that point. 8 pi over 6, 9 pi over 6. Isn't 10 pi over 6 reduces to 5 pi over 3? So if you can count carefully, you can do this without too much trouble. Okay, here we go. Amplitude is 1 as we gather the information. Now the b value, do you see the half here? So 2 pi over b is, if it's divided by a half, it's multiplied by 2, like we did earlier, and our period is 4 pi. Our horizontal shift is pi over 2 to the right, because subtraction is part of the formula, and our vertical shift is up 2. Step 1 was gathering the data. We did that. Step 2, we do the vertical shift first. This time I would let each box be 2, and so here's my shift up 2. So my midline is now at 2. The third thing I'm going to do is amplitude. So from the midline, I'm going to go up 1 and down 1. That's going to be my amplitude. The horizontal shift is the fourth thing I'm going to do, and that's going to go to the right pi over 2. And so I'm going to call one box pi over 2. So we're going to start our graph here. Shift it up 2 and to the right pi over 2, so one box is pi over 2. My period is 4 pi, so if that's 1 pi over 2 and the period goes to 1 more pi over 2 past 4 pi, is it 4 over 1, the same thing as 8 over 2, and if I go one more, it's 9 over 2. So that's where it ends. So it starts at 1 pi over 2, ends at 9 pi over 2. The middle is 5 pi over 2. And between 1 and 5, there's 3 pi over 2. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. We should be able to label those carefully. And then the last thing we do is we draw a sine curve. So it starts at the midline, goes up, back down to the midline, and then starts over again. And if we want another period, I can go up and down and back up again. I wasn't going to have room for 3 periods. I'm hoping 2 will be enough.